Doc Thompson on 700 WLW. Some really powerful clips from the oral arguments arguing whether or not Obamacare is constitutional before the Sixth Circuit Court of Appeals yesterday in Cincinnati. The next clip I have for you makes two really good points. It's Judge Sutton speaking to the gentleman arguing on behalf of the federal government, the Solicitor General Neil Kumar Katayal. I don't know his name. The first point that the judge makes is, where is Congress's limit on power if they go ahead and say that it is constitutional? And second of all, he makes the point that they're using the poor as the argument for the need for this, saying that there are a lot of people that are uninsured. But when it comes to the mandate, those same poor people will be the ones that get the exemptions, and it'll be paid for by the rest of us. Those are the two pieces I want you to really point out in this next clip.
The best way of putting it is it's just not proper to make people buy things. I mean, that's the real point. I mean, and it is hard to see this limit. I mean, if you can do it on the demand side by forcing people to buy things, is it true that you could take a very big company, a Walmart, an IBM, and compel them to offer insurance products, health insurance, to the world? So on the supply side, the risk pool is bigger? I mean, I don't understand, as a matter of Commerce Clause jurisprudence, why it's not exactly the same under your theory of the Commerce Clause.
Judge Sutton, it is undoubted.
Yes, right? They could do that.
I don't think the answer is yes. I think the answer is that's a very different case.
Could Congress compel on the supply side companies not in the insurance market to offer health insurance, not to their employees, but out in the market, so that Walmart becomes an Aetna? They're now supplying health insurance. Why would Congress do it? It makes good sense, because that way you've broadened the risk pool. You make sure that insurance companies don't go under if there's a disaster. So it's perfectly logical. It has lots of connections to commerce, just like your demand side arguments. It has this intuition against it, which is compelling some entity or person to do something.
Well, I don't know about that, because I think that in your hypothetical, you don't have what Congress was dealing with here, which is $43 billion in cost shifting caused by uncompensated care from one individual to another.
Does the record illustrate or explain how that $43 billion breaks down? Because my suspicion is a very high percentage of it is covered by the people that are exempted by the law. And so it seems a little funny to talk about this big number and then exempt most of the people causing that big number from the requirements of the law. That's just strange to me.
I'm not sure whether or not a large number. I'm not sure it's broken down.
Very, very interesting. That's a great point that the judge made. But here is the most shocking thing that comes out of any of this. This next clip, that's just about a minute long. The most shocking thing maybe that I've heard come out of this at all from the government. The Solicitor General is asked to name another case where the Supreme Court has had to come up with something similar. Been asked this question about, could people be compelled to purchase something similar? He does cite the Heart of Atlanta motel case as a relevant example. And this is a 1964 civil rights case. The court ruled that Congress could use its Commerce Clause power to bar discrimination by private businesses such as hotels and restaurants, which I don't necessarily agree with. But it's still not the same thing, even if you do agree with what the Supreme Court ruled. Listen to what the Solicitor General says. He basically says, you don't have to buy it. You could just earn less money.
It's, quote, forced action.
I think that the United States Supreme Court has never been confronted directly with that, although there have been any number of cases which you could characterize that way, such as Heart of Atlanta motel. You're forcing individuals to serve.
They're in that business already, though.
Well, but they're in that business, but they're forcing people to serve. They're forcing people to do something that they wouldn't otherwise do.
They're in the business. They're told, if you're going to be in the business, this is what you have to do. In response to that law, they could have said, we now exit the business.
Sure.
Individuals don't have
but
that
Judge Sutton, if we're going to play that game, I think that game could be played here as well, because after all, the minimum coverage provision only kicks in if people have earned a certain amount of income. So it's a penalty on earning a certain amount of income and self-insuring. It's not just on self-insuring on their own. So I guess one could say, just like the restaurant owner could depart the market in Heart of Atlanta motel, someone doesn't need to earn that much income. I think both are kind of fanciful, and I think get at the...
That wasn't one in a single speech given in Congress about this law.
Well, I think
the idea that the solution, if you don't like it, is make a little less money.
If you don't want the mandate, if you don't want to be mandated, then just make less money. That's what the federal government is going to argue. It's very, very interesting. I'll keep you updated on this case as it rolls along. Coming up at about 11:20, your locally offensive road names. Political correctness in the UK says we've got to change them. We'll talk about them at about 11:20. And then the new unemployment numbers at about 11:33. On the home of the Reds, 700 WLW. Let's go to Alex Monroe. You're on the big one.
How's it going, Doc?
How you doing, buddy?
Good. Just wanted to call and comment on some of your comments. I actually work for ODOT, and that idea you have of planting trees in the median is asinine.
Why is that asinine? Why doesn't that work?
That would lead to pure carnage. I don't know if you have realized the height of the cables in between the ditches, but that hits them right in the grill, right in the engine, and the wheels. It slows them down. You start letting people run into trees. You know what happens when a car hits a tree, right? So
are we trying to protect the people that are crossing the lane who may be driving irresponsibly or whatever? Or are we trying to protect the people on the other side?
We're trying to protect everybody on the road. I don't think there's anything wrong with that at all.
So shouldn't we
because you're driving irresponsibly, do you deserve to die in that case?
No, but that's not my concern. That's your concern as an individual.
Well, you know what? It's not that big of a deal to protect the life with a cable.
So why do we allow driving at all?
Dude, you're out of your mind. I don't understand your arguments half the time. You're terrible.
Wait a minute. I'm just asking you questions, Alex.
What the hell kind of question is that? So just ban driving altogether?
I'm saying if you are worried about protecting everybody from themselves, which is what you're talking about.
No, a reasonable amount of protection.
A reasonable amount of protection. What is reasonable? We can differ on that.
We sure can, and
yes.
I think it's reasonable to say that.
Why not go ahead and just plant trees so we don't have to continue to replace those things, to spend the money on, just place the trees and be done. It looks prettier. It's better for the environment, isn't it?
I couldn't care less about the environment. I do agree it looks prettier, but it's...
But let's be honest, Alex. Let's be honest. If you work for ODOT, my plan cuts a whole lot of ODOT people.
I couldn't care less. And also, think of all the times windstorms come through, knock down trees, they fall onto the highway, cause a 15-car pileup. It hits your tree, crushes you. Now who's at fault? ODOT,
I don't know if you've driven outside of Ohio in any other state, but they have this system where there are trees separating the lanes of the highway.
Well, they sure do, but I'm sure that on occasion, a tree will fall and crush a perfectly reasonable driver just trucking down the road, doing the speed limit, and paying attention, obeying the traffic laws, and it crushes and kills them.
So you're worried about the occasional time a tree does that, but you're not worried
I'm just
about...
trying to play to your argument is all.
No, but you bring up that occasionally people could, I imagine, get killed by hitting...
That the one that you're making.
No, but people could be killed by hitting those. Has anybody been killed by hitting the guardrails?
I couldn't tell you. I'm sure that they have. But
okay, well then why do we have the guardrails, Alex? Why do we have those? People are killed by them. There's obviously a better system, right?
Yes, they protect a lot more lives than trees would.
Wait a minute. But there's still some examples of people hitting those that have died. So how could you support those? It's the what if, Alex.
No, it's not the what if.
It is the what if. You just gave me the what if about the trees.
Yeah, I know, because
you know what? What if they fall down because of the wind? What if they blow down in the highway?
Well, that's what you're saying. What if the person coming across the median is sleepy? What if the person coming across the median is driving irresponsibly?
Yes, I'm trying to protect the people that are driving responsibly. I am somebody who believes putting the responsibility on the individual.
Okay, what's responsible driving? That's as vague as saying a reasonable amount of protection.
What is responsible? Not getting drunked up first? Would you consider that being responsible? Not drinking and driving?
Okay, well, what about looking down and texting for 30 seconds?
Yes, at some point it's not going to be responsible. You're right. So
well,
let's put
5 seconds.
So Alex, let's put the responsibility on the individual. You know what the determining factor is? What's responsible? Is if you get into an accident.
Oh, well, yeah, I don't know. You kill me.
I'll tell you what, Alex. I'll tell you what.
I miss McConnell.
Yes. Well, I'm glad you mixed Mike. Why don't you go ahead? I'm not sure if he supported you, the ODOT workers, and wanted to continue to pay you to mow them.
I don't really support my job either, but I'm glad to have it.
Well, of course you are, but that's the real argument here. The real argument is you don't want to lose your jobs. It makes perfect sense, like people have around the country. Go there. They have highways that have this system. They don't have guardrails up there. They have trees quite often. Has anybody started a movement across the country to cut down all of those trees because the tension wire guardrails are safer? No. You're just trying to protect your job. At least man up and admit it. It's Doc Thompson, home of the Reds, 700 WLW.